Thank you for joining us. Welcome to LumioseStation.
What's up, LumioseStation, and welcome back to another episode of the Pokémon DataDex with me, TheOneIntegral. In last week's episode, we covered Regirock, wasn't it? No, Registeel, that's the one. I almost forgot. We covered Registeel, one of the Regi trio, and I told you guys this week was going to be a mascot episode, and here we are. Mascot episode time. We have Patterrz joining us later. He'll be going over the competitive sets of this week's Pokemon, which of course is Darkrai, because you can't have Darkrai without Patterrz. Or Patterrz without Darkrai. One of those. So, before we get into today's episode and delve into the nightmare that is Darkrai, we need to have a vote for next week's Pokemon, and we have a shockingly good vote today. We have either Galvantula or Heliolisk. So if you'd like to see the bug electric type Galvantula covered next week, comment down below saying Galvantula. And if you want to see the normal electric type Heliolisk covered, let me know down below by commenting Heliolisk. It's really that simple. Gen 5 or Gen 6. Take your pick, and the one that gets most votes will be covered next week. But for now, let's delve into Darkrai. So Darkrai, it's a pure dark type, hence as the name might suggest, and it's number 491 in the National Pokédex, coming just 2 before Arceus, the God Pokemon of course, and it is the pitch black Pokemon Arceus. Not Arceus, Darkrai. We're talking about Darkrai today, not Arceus. Get my head in the game. Come on then. Right, dimension wise, Darkrai stands, I guess, or is about 4 foot 11 inches tall, I guess, just from sort of its head to its body, bottom of the body. I don't know, it doesn't really have legs. I mean, it does have legs sometimes actually, but they're not here most of the time. But yeah, 4 foot 11 inches, 1.5 meters, so it's nothing huge, but of course it is going to be floating in the air most of the time, so you're still going to be a bit wary of it. It weighs 111.3 pounds, I can't read 111.3 very well, or 50.5 kilograms, so again, it's not really that heavy a Pokemon either. Egg and breeding wise, it's in the undiscovered egg group, being a legendary, and of course it is genderless also, so nothing to talk about there. Evolution wise, doesn't evolve from or into anything. Sorry Patterrz, you can't breed, you can't evolve. Yeah, you're sort of stuck there. So, basic stat wise for Darkrai, if we take a look through, you can see straight off the bat its highest stat here is special attack at 135. So no surprises what sort of main stat we're going to be using in our sets and moves later on. Then its speed is 125, just slightly less, and then going further down we have a defense and special defense at 90, so those aren't bad defenses and they're sort of equal. It's not like it has really good special defense and terrible physical defense, it's sort of equal in the defensive department. And also has 90 in physical attack as well, not that we're going to really care about that because as the 135 base special attack might suggest, we're sort of more focusing on that. And then health points, this is actually its worst stat at 70, so Darkrai isn't really that much of a bulky Pokemon. Its defenses are decent, however the lack of health point stats does mean it can't sort of tank up too many hits. But it could be used in the defensive set if you really wanted to, but generally we're using Darkrai in a speedy, heavy attacking sort of set, sort of role, I guess. So the ability for Darkrai finally is Bad Dreams. What does this ability do? Well, every time, every move, every turn, the opponent is asleep, it saps their health points basically. It's like Leech Seed, but it works all the time, so you don't have to actually set it up, but only works on sleeping Pokemon. So it's a pretty good ability to be honest, especially with combined with one of Darkrai's moves, which we'll look at later on, but that's really it for Darkrai sort of main stuff. So, this pure dark type, let's look at the resistances and stuff like that. It only resists 2 types unfortunately, which are Ghost and Dark, and it's weak to 3, which are Fighting, Bug and Fairy. It's immune to Psychic though, which is good, and it takes neutral from all the rest of the moves, all the rest of the types rather. So it's not a brilliant type, okay? Only resists 2, it is immune to 1, so it's got technically like reduced damage from 3, and then 3 weaknesses, so it's not really got loads of weaknesses compared to its resistances. However, it doesn't have many resistances to begin with. It's going to be taking neutral damage from a total of 15 types. No, that's too many. 12 types, that's the one. It's going to take normal damage from 12 types. And considering we're not too bulky either, we're not going to be able to take too many of those in quick succession. So, as I said earlier, Darkrai really can't be used in defensive role too much, but the high speed stat and the high special attack stat we have is what we really want to focus on for Darkrai here. So going on and looking how we might use these stats, we'll look at the moves, I guess. So, Level up moves first that we have at level 66. Darkrai can learn Dark Void. Now this is Darkrai's signature move. What does Dark Void do? Well, it puts the opponent to sleep. It doesn't have, I don't know what the accuracy is particularly, I don't use Darkrai too much, I'm sure Patterrz will tell you later on. But Dark Void puts the opponent to sleep. As those of you who've watched some free-falls will know, it puts the entire enemy field to sleep basically. So if you're playing a free-for-all, use Dark Void, you can put both the enemies to sleep. And that's pretty darn good there. And one of the other good things about Darkrai's signature move, Dark Void, is because of Darkrai's ability, as I mentioned, which is Bad Dreams. Every time the opponent is asleep, you know, you're going to get, well, you're not going to sap their health points necessarily, but they're going to lose their health points. So this is good. Free for all, you Dark Void the opponent, both of them go to sleep, and then they're both losing health each turn they're asleep. And obviously sleep isn't really something you can get out of too easily, unless of course you have early bird, but then again that's not really a common ability at all. So you have to wait 2 or 3 turns, so they're going to get 2 or 3 turns damage off with Bad Dreams, and obviously you can do any extra damage in that time as well. So Dark Void is definitely a good move for Darkrai, you definitely want to run that, definitely. Then level 75, Darkrai can learn Nasty Plots. What does this do? Well, it sharply increases your special attack, so basically doubles it. Doubles your special attack, and that is good. That is a good. Because obviously we're a special attacker. So you could Dark Void, put them to sleep, and then Nasty Plot twice while they're asleep, and you've got 3 times, because Nasty Plot once you get up to 2 times damage, Nasty Plot again you get up to 3 times damage, so the usefulness peels off a bit. But you can use it while they're asleep, and then you can do more damage after that. So yeah, Nasty Plot is a very viable move in Darkrai indeed. Then we have the level 93, or if you don't want to be a tryhard and go that high, TM97, which is much easier. We have Dark Pulse, which is Darkrai's really only good stab move. It has a couple others, but this is the best one, I guess. Has a chance to flinch as well, so yeah, it's just sort of all-round stab. You can Nasty Plot and Dark Pulse for days. Then looking at some TMs. First we have TM13 Ice Beam, which is obviously a nice type move. Does decent damage, has the ability to freeze the opponent. You don't want to run out on Darkrai too much, however, as Patterrz will mention later on, he'll go through it with you, it does have a use in one niche of Ubers, I guess. Because obviously Darkrai's only use is in Ubers, because it's banned all the other tiers, unless you're just playing sort of like a free-for-all, you know, you just use whatever you want. In terms of competitive, it can only be used in Ubers, so looking at a particular Pokemon there, Ice Beam can be quite useful for it. Going on to some more general stuff now, we have TM25 Thunder in a free-for-all or in double battles if paired with Kyogre, or even in a single battle paired with Kyogre, obviously in Ubers. Drizzle goes up and Thunder is going to have 100% accuracy. Of course you could run Thunderbolt instead at TM24, but you're going to do less damage, and really what Darkrai is all about is damage. So Thunder is a good choice there. It's going to give you coverage against the flying types and everything like that. Then moving on we have TM36 Sludge Bomb. Main reason for this is fairy types counter you pretty hard because Dark Pulse is going to be resisted, and sort of your other moves aren't going to do as much damage, I guess. So Sludge Bomb is very viable. You definitely want to think about running out on Darkrai, because otherwise fairy types are just going to put a roadblock up and they're just going to stop you in your tracks. Doesn't matter whether you put them to sleep, they're still going to be able to fairy type you up and screw you basically. Then TM52 Focus Blast is viable as well on Darkrai. It's not too common, but it is viable, just to give you some more coverage against types you wouldn't otherwise hit with, you know, your stab move. Obviously, one of the types you resist, which is Ghost, you know, Focus Blast isn't going to do anything to that, so you've got no real advantage there. But of course, Dark Pulse is going to be super effective there anyway. But yeah, running Focus Blast to give you some coverage against like Steel, Rock, Ice. You know, obviously Steel is not going to resist Dark anymore, but you could still do a super effective move against it, so that's the option for running Focus Blast there. Then finally up, the last move here we have for Darkrai is TM90 Substitute. As I mentioned, you can run a bulky Darkrai because obviously leftovers you could run and then, you know, put them to sleep, and they can't do any damage to you when you're asleep, so leftovers are going to be able to, you know, help you go up. You could Dark Void them, they're asleep for 2 turns, you can then sub next turn, and then over the next 2 turns they're sort of asleep, waking up sort of thing. You've restored the health points with the leftovers that you lost by making the substitute, so, you know, it can work in that sort of sense, especially if, you know, you can just keep Dark Voiding them and keep putting them to sleep. So that's always a good idea, and obviously they're losing health points at the same time, so you can run a bulky Darkrai and go over that, but it's just not as common, but it's possible. It's possible. So now I'm going to hand over to Patterrz, who is going to take you guys through the competitive sets, because if anyone knows how to use Darkrai, it's him.
What's going on, everyone? My name's Patterrz, and I'm here to go over the competitive movesets for Darkrai because it is my favorite Pokemon and my mascot. So, there's generally only one real set that people use for Darkrai in Ubers, and that is the only tier you can use it in, obviously. I'm gonna go over this move last because it's where you can get the most variation out of Darkrai. So first off, for the ability, you only have one choice in the ability, but it is not a bad one. You have Bad Dreams, which when we get into the moves, you'll see how good it actually is. I'm pretty sure most of you guys already know why Bad Dreams is a good ability, but that is the only one you can use. It does take off, I believe, if we have a look here, it's either 1/16 or 1/8. It does 12.5%, which is, I believe is 1/8. I'm pretty sure it's 1/8 damage every single turn that your opponent is asleep. So right off that there, got a good ability. You can't switch it up for anything else, so you're kind of stuck with that. Next, for the EVs, you're probably going to invest in Special Attack and Speed most. There is really no other way to run it that people commonly use. If you want it to be adventurous, you could go for a bulky set. I don't really know why you would do that, because there are much better bulky Pokemon that you can use in Ubers. I guess you wanted to surprise your opponent with that. You can have leftovers, substitute, stuff like that. But generally, what most people run is the complete vested in Speed and Special Attack. As for the item, you're probably just going to grab a Life Orb, because the Life Orb does give you that boost in damage, which is always nice. I believe Darkrai has a 135 special attack and 125 speed. So even though we do have that massive special attack already, we're going to have a little bit more from the Life Orb. As for the moves, this is where you get the most variation out of Darkrai, like I said before. Generally, you're going to want to run Dark Void. Dark Void is the staple of Darkrai. It is a very accurate sleep move. It's not as accurate as Spore, boasting a 80% accuracy. Sorry about that. And it is generally what everyone knows about Darkrai. Everyone runs it, and there's really no reason not to, because obviously when you put them to sleep, you get that backup from Bad Dreams, and which is gonna hurt your opponents while the Pokemon is asleep. So that is always nice to have. Next, you're gonna want a stab move. So pretty much the only decent stab move that Darkrai has, I believe, is Dark Pulse. There might be some others, but Dark Pulse is the most reliable. It's got really good damage, base 80 damage. It has 100% accuracy, so you're not going to be missing a whole lot, if ever. In fact, you're probably not going to miss ever. And it has the chance to flinch, which is always nice when you are faster than your opponent, which generally you are going to be faster than your opponent because we have that 125 speed. Next, you could run either Nasty Plot or Thunder. Now, it depends more if you want to set up or if you want to go straight power. Thunder does give you that more coverage. It does have very low accuracy, so maybe if you wanted to use it with Kyogre, that could work a little bit better. But if you didn't have Kyogre, you wanted to go with more of a powerful setting up type shenanigans right there. Use Nasty Plot. You put them to sleep with Dark Void, use Nasty Plot, and you got a +2 super speedy Pokemon right there. That's nothing to fuck with. That's nothing to mess with. You don't want to mess around with that, all right? So that is, it's kind of a toss-up between the two. It depends if you want full power or if you want to be able to set up with it as well. Last but not least, we want to get a Sledge Bomb, because obviously the fairy type isn't, it's not Darkrai's best friend in the whole wide world. It's really not. So if we have Sledge Bomb, generally we are going to outspeed most fairies in the Ubers tier, and we're going to be able to one-shot them, especially if you do have that +2 from the Nasty Plot. If they're not focused to actually have +2 from Nasty Plot, they are not surviving any hits at all, especially with the Life Orb. If you didn't want to run the Life Orb, and if you wanted to if you want to be a little bit special, you could switch up the Life Orb for a Choice Scarf. If you want to deal with those pesky Shaman Skies, they're just 1 point faster than Darkrai, which I am a little bit angry about. You could switch up for a Choice Scarf and hit it up with that Ice Beam as well, which Darkrai is able to run, which will most likely take them down with no problems at all. Again, most people generally run the Life Orb, Dark Void, Dark Pulse, Nasty Plot, and Sledge Bomb set. But you can't, there's a lot of variation in there if you wanted to. But that is it for the competitive movesets for Darkrai. I hope you enjoyed it. And bye.
And that's it. Thank you, Patterrz, for joining me today and going through those sets with you, because, you know, Patterrz is the professional here. He's the professional Darkrai player. So guys, that's going to be it for this episode of DataDex with me and, of course, Patterrz. If you haven't already, be sure to vote for next week's Pokemon down below. Either comment to Galvantula or Heliolisk, depending on which one you want to see. And the one that gets the most votes will be covered next week. But for now, if you enjoyed this episode, if you enjoyed Patterrz coming on and stuff, be sure to hit the like button down below and feel free to suggest some more guests I should have in the future. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me today. I shall be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.